Here today. I am Susan Hayes Cullerton, the presenter of Fantastic Female Fridays, and it gives me so much pleasure to introduce you to Linda Royer, CEO of VectorVest. Hi Linda, great to see you.
Hi Susan.
So I'm based over here in Dublin, and our fantastic team in the US has set us up so that Linda is joining us from her office at the office in Ohio. Well, hello everybody, and as I thank you so much indeed for joining us. So first of all, I'm going to say hello to a couple of people who are joining us. Hello to presenter of Fantastic Female Fridays, and it gives me so much pleasure to introduce you to Linda Royer, CEO of VectorVest. Hi Linda, great to see you. So I'm based over here in Dublin, and Maria has joined us also from Maine. So and I can also see that there's lots of other people. So that Linda is joining us from her office. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. So Linda Royer. As I thank you so much indeed for joining us. So first of all, I'm going to say hello. She's having a big birthday soon. Hello to presenter of Fantastic Female somebody that has given me so much pleasure to introduce you to Linda Royer, CEO of VectorVest. Hi Linda, great to see you. She knows more about our founder here in Dublin, and Maria has joined us also from Maine. So and I can also see that there's lots of other people. So that Linda is joining us. Let me tell you a little bit about your office in. So most of all, Linda everybody, as I thank you so much indeed. Such a great pleasure. So first of all, I'm going to say hello. So big Linda, first of all, she is somebody that has given me a question that I'm so much pleasure to introduce you. Delighted to see that we have Linda of VectorVest. Hi Linda, great to see you. She knows more about our founder. Congratulations on our appointment. Has joined us also from Maine. So and I can also see that there's greatest. And so that Linda, so let me tell you a little bit about your office in. So most of all, hello everybody, as I thank you so much indeed. Such a great pleasure. So first of all, I'm going to say hello. So big
to talk about only three. It would be, first of all, that we not only survived, thrived in an industry that is very fickle.
And I need you to your audio on YouTube.
Yep, sorted, already done. Yep, that's already taken care of.
Can we resume?
Yep, Linda, you're good to go.
Okay, so we've not only survived, but actually grown in an industry where we've watched a lot of companies who are perceived as competitors of ours. We have a product that has taken us through the worst of times and the best of times, and we've watched a lot of friends and colleagues and competitors go out of business during this 32 years that we've been around, and it's a timeless product. So it's helped us to get through these times. So I think survival and thriving through every economic in and out that we've had over the last 32 years. The second one, I think, is that I've taught thousands of people. I won't call them investors, because some of the people who come to us in the beginning to use the product are not investors. They're people who are just getting started, but we've taught thousands of people to invest profitably in the market. And that sounds very elementary because most people can learn. But what we've really done is we've given them a lifestyle of being able to live without worrying about their finances, which is the goal of Vector. We want people to achieve a financially free lifestyle. And I think our third greatest accomplishment, and one that I'm probably most proud of, is that we have built a staff of who have developed themselves and allowed us to develop them to the point that I would stack them against any Fortune 500 company. I would, our staff is not only, but they are very strategic thinkers. They have been faced with some of the craziest economic environments, and we've had to find ways to grow through those environments, and we've just developed this amazing staff, and a lot of them have been with us 20 years and 20 to 23 years, and it's been fantastic to be associated with them.
Well,
I think those are our three biggest.
I mean, you talk about surviving and thriving during like very difficult economic times. I mean, obviously over that period of the 32 years, and as I mentioned earlier, 30 years if that has been your own tenure, that you've seen really major highs and really major lows. But the other thing, of course, that's happened, Linda, is growth. Not just of the subscribers, or not just of the system and so on, but personal growth as well. So could I ask you now personally, what is it like to have been a woman in VectorVest who has risen to the top?
So that's an interesting question, and one that I do have a little bit of difficulty answering. I don't believe that Dr. DeLito, when he chose me as an employee, ever thought about me being a woman. I think that I myself have been very gender blind for years. I don't ever remember not being gender blind. I just think that he needed a set of skills, and I had those skills, so I was hired. As far as the rise, I think that it was probably 18 years into my employment here before I realized that I was in a man's world. I was surrounded by men. I had another female employee ask me how it was to sit on a team of 12 people where the other 11 people were men. And I very honestly said, wow, I never thought of that before. So I think that it's been terrific to rise in a male environment to the top, but I don't think it's been anything that was ever a goal, because it was just never noticed for a long, long time. But it is definitely one of my goals to keep this organization gender blind.
I think it's an interesting idea to be gender blind. And when I say it's an idea, I think that many of us can try to be that way, but it's different if you're innately that. And I mean, I'm smiling to myself, Linda, because to think for 18 years you didn't see it. I mean, talk about really practicing what you preach. If you genuinely hadn't seen it until somebody had pointed it out to you, I think that really proves the point. Of course, the other thing too is that you have been part of a stock analysis software company for that period of time. So what I really like to know, and please do, anybody who's on our chat, as I'm checking over here, I'm keeping an eye on you all, please do send in your questions for Linda too. But one of the things that I would wonder is, what's your own personal story about investing? I mean, did you start off, where did you come from, a family where you spoke about derivatives over dinner on a Sunday? Did you start off somebody who had an interest in this and qualified in this area, and that's what attracted you to it? Did you start off with none of the above? So what's your personal investing story?
Okay, so it's quite an interest, if I do say so myself. I was raised in a family where my dad owned a business, and he ran it both out of his shop and our home. And so I was around an entrepreneur my entire growth years. And I watched how hard he worked, and he worked very, very hard. He would start his day at 4 in the morning and end somewhere around 6 in the evening. But he never made any good financial decisions about retirement or what happens after his body didn't allow him to work longer. And so it's quite interesting that I've put myself in the position I have, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. But as far as investing goes, I had not known a person growing up that had ever invested in the stock market. My first exposure to the stock market was in a 9th grade stock competition. And I like to think that I did what most people would do in that situation. I picked companies of products that I was very familiar with. So I used to play with Barbie dolls, so I selected Mattel. And my family drank Pepsi, so I selected Pepsi, those types of decisions. When I came to work for Dr. DeLito, it was really just to achieve a means to an end. So I had quit a 5-year job that I had with the intention of going back to school to become a high school math teacher. And I looked in the ads back then. We didn't have Monster and Indeed and all of those services, so we found our jobs in the newspaper. And I answered an ad, and the biggest criteria in the ad was that you must have an aptitude for math. Well, math is something that's always come easy to me, the way my brain works most naturally. So I was very attracted to the position. He hired me after the first interview, and it was a part-time position, so it would allow me a lot of time to go back to school and achieve my dreams. Interestingly enough, I never went back to school. I began working for him. He actually had a position in Winter Park, Florida at the time. So he would leave every Sunday night and come home on Thursday night, and I would work independently those 4 days of the week. He would leave me very detailed lists of things that needed to be accomplished. But the one thing that I could never have predicted was the kinds of phone calls that I would take. So people were calling, and they would tell me how great the system was. And back then it was just a little blue book, what we called the little blue book. It was a stock advisory that we printed every week and mailed out to. And it had 3,060 stocks in the entire stock database. And so people were using that booklet as their investing Bible. And so I would get calls. One gentleman called me very early on. I remember this call very distinctly. He said that he's done such great things with the VectorVest system, and it had allowed him to not only turn what he called a negative experience, because he hadn't been able to make money in the stock market, into a very positive experience, but it had allowed him to not only put his children through college, but he had a sister whose husband had passed away, and she had 2 sons. And it had allowed him to put his 2 nephews through college and pay for their entire education. And he was at that moment, now that he had gotten all the educations that he needed to pay for out of the way, he was going to buy his dream home. And so those are the kind of inspiring calls I received very early on, and they continued. They still continue today. And that really spoke to the philanthropic part of my personality. And I thought, wow, this isn't just selling a product to people, this is giving them a way to change their life. And I wanted to be part of that. But I must admit that I took those calls for about 10 years before I ever had enough money to invest in the stock market. Back then, you had to have a certain amount of money to open up a brokerage account. And I came from very meager means, and I had by this time 2 children in that 10 years. And so our money was put into other places just to live. And I remember it was so hard to take those calls and hear what everybody else was doing with the VectorVest system, and to know it as well as I did, and be able to paper trade as well as I was, but not be able to invest in the market because I just didn't have the capital. So I remember after 10 years going to my husband and saying, I'm going to get a Christmas bonus, and I want to take that bonus and put it into the market. And he too had come from very meager means, and he looked at money as security. And if we had money in the bank, that made him feel better. And he was very against me doing it. But I must say I did it anyway. And I bought a portfolio of 10 teeny bopper stocks. I didn't just take teeny bopper as Dr. DeLito had created it, though. I had noticed that in my paper trading, if I ran teeny boppers today, and then I ran the same search a week ago, because you can do that in the system, and I only bought the stocks that were on both lists. So they met the teeny bopper criteria last week, and they met the teeny bopper criteria this week. I bought those stocks, I almost doubled my return actually. So I bought a 10 of those teeny bopper stocks because I didn't have much money in that account. And I did it exactly like the system told me to. And I did very, very well with that portfolio. And I had a couple of wins a year later. The first one was that when it came time to get my Christmas bonus again, my husband said not only to put my money, my Christmas bonus, into our trading account, but to take his as well. So I had converted him. The second thing that happened was that when we went to do our taxes in the spring that year, my accountant called me and asked me how I was making so much money in the stock market. What was I doing? What was I using? And she's a very hard woman to impress. And I told her that I didn't really know how to invest. I only knew how to invest using VectorVest. And if she was interested, I would help her. And so it was the validation that I needed, that I was doing the right thing for my family as well as myself. I didn't want to be left on the sidelines. All these customers were making so much money with VectorVest, and I just wasn't able to. So that's how I got started in investing.
Well,
and it's been a great journey ever since.
Linda, I have to tell you what's actually happening here on the chat. So David C says, a CEO genuinely speaking from the heart, how refreshing. And I think that certainly reflects how we're all feeling. Lisa Costa says, I took the plunge for the first time yesterday, investing with my own money, not our joint money. I'm so excited for my savvy journey. She said, hashtag fantastic females. You actually answered Cara B, who joins us. She's wonderful, always joins us from Vancouver. Says, she said, what did you start off doing for VectorVest? What was your first job? And you've just shared that with us. And then Lawrence also asks, how did you get the option derivatives or investing at a small level? Did you need to re-educate yourself? So again, you've actually answered a range of those. So some really, really lovely comments that are coming in, and it's also lovely to see our community supporting each other along the way. I would like to hear though, because you talk a lot about moving forward, whether it was, moving forward in the company, as you mentioned earlier, getting the courage to put that bonus, learning how to invest and so on like that. So how do you accomplish goals? Like what's your way of doing it? Do you set and forget? Are you somebody that just, I suppose, in a typical leadership type style, do you simply amass people around you? Like what is your strategy for making progress? Sorry guys, just letting you know, I'd say the mute button has been pressed there on the microphone. Yeah, that's it, I'd say, yeah. Sorry guys. Yeah, we just need to make sure that the sound is turned on. Just while you're doing that, I just also want to say that Maria says, my husband was the same way until I directed him the Bible about investing. I told him to Google it, lol, and it worked. which is great to hear. Cara, well done on wishing your congratulations there to Lisa. That's lovely to hear. I think we're back there, Linda, are we?
Okay,
yep.
I think we are.
Yep, super.
Okay. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I will say that my approach to things has evolved over the course of my lifetime and my career. And it's going to sound very trite to say this, but my mantra is just to do the next right thing. Whether you're approaching, a work project or changing or creating a new habit, when you decide to stop a bad habit, or just achieving a goal, a life goal that you've set for yourself, my way of doing it is just doing the next right thing. When you look at a project, a habit, a goal that you have to decide what the first step is. And if you look at the entire goal, it can be overwhelming. You can be afraid to get started even. And I've noticed with my own personality that if I just get started, then God will bless that first step, and then the next steps will evolve, and they do. So I always myself just do the next right thing. And so I look at the project and I decide what the next right thing is, and then I do that. And by the time you're done with that first step, the second step already, there's light been shown upon that second step, and you very naturally know where to go next. But must do the right thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because it's not just about doing the next thing, it's about doing the next right thing. And how do you always know what that is?
I think I know because I have a few credos, right? Personal credos that I live by. So when you look at whatever it is you're doing, there's a few things you don't want to do. First and foremost, you don't want to hurt anybody in the process of whatever it is you're achieving. So you take care of the people that are around you in taking that step, and you don't hurt anybody. And then you always absolutely take care of yourself through the next right thing. So you can very much get distracted by the things that are going on around you, and you kind of just have to keep your eye on the prize. And so morally, my moral compass comes into play, and I have to decide what are the right things to do. And you've got to prevent yourself from hurting others. And others can be a person, it can be a place, such as the earth, it can be a thing, such as a company. So when I'm making decisions for myself, VectorVest, my family, and even my colleagues and my friends are always considered. And so I think you just have to consider the people, places, and things around you, and then do the next right thing by everyone.
Do you think that multiplicative approach is easier as a woman?
I do. I think that men struggle with, there's a book I read a long time ago called Women Are Like Spaghetti and Men Are Like Waffles. And it's very scientific, actually, that the way we were created, men jump from box to box like a waffle. Women are like a plate of spaghetti noodles. And one thought is generally laying on three other thoughts. So I believe that men struggle to think about all of those things at once and be able to accommodate. They like to work on a single goal in a single box before they have to move to another. And where women, every single thing we do or think even is connected to many other noodles, if you will, on the plate that we call life. So I think it's much easier for women.
Well, I think that as you're pointing out that there's great benefit then from the diversity of bringing the spaghetti and waffles together. If we push out that analogy,
Amen.
I'm just going to go back over here. Again, there's loads of points coming in here. There's lots of comments going on that I'm noticing as well. But just Penny wants to know, what were you doing for VectorVest before you became CEO, and how is Dr. DeLito doing? And Maria wants to know, she said, Linda, I'm a numbers person and I want to know, how do you avoid all the news that has such influence in the market, even though the fundamentals are there?
Okay, so let's take that question first. That's a very easy. I'm very disciplined in the VectorVest system. I need system processes in my life because I'm multidimensional, as most people are. So I have a lot of things going on in my life. So I take a system or a process and I apply it to everything I do in my life. And like most investors, we get comfortable. When I learned to invest, I needed the VectorVest system and only the VectorVest system to know how to invest. And then it started happening where once people find out you're an investor, they begin giving you stock tips, or they ask you about stocks and whatever. And I think it's our nature to try to be better than the system. And I learned very, very early on that the easiest way to make consistent returns was just stick to my trading plan. Whatever it was, I just had to stick to the trading plan. So it actually simplified things for me. And I don't pay attention to the news, but I do pay attention to the market indicators. And I get out when it's appropriate and I get in when it's appropriate. I was fortunate enough that in 2003, we were able to offer all of our employees a 401k plan as part of their benefit package. And I began investing in my own 401k, and I didn't know a lot about closed-end mutual funds, let alone open-end mutual funds. So I had to develop a system that would allow me to manage that investment in a very simplified way. And since VectorVest is my life, I knew that I could do the two. So I began trading my 401k using the confirmed ups and down calls. And so I would go into the most aggressive fund that had the positive percentage gain of the last 30 days was still positive on a 1-year basis. And I would put 100% of my money into that fund on a confirmed up, and I would let it ride until we got a confirmed down. And then I would go into cash, and I would sit in cash until it was time to go back into an aggressive fund again. And I've been doing that since 2003, and I've made a ton of money in my 401k. So it's a very simple system, but that's what I use, is your system to block out anything that's going on around us that could distract us, fear in us. Once you get disciplined with the system, you know, and I don't mean just the VectorVest system, definitely use discipline there, but any system or process you create in life, once you get disciplined with your system, the rest of the noise just is automatically blinded out. You just don't hear it. So it's been a great tool. The VectorVest system itself, the market timing system, has been unbelievable. And as you all know from our recent calls, you know, our January 28th call that happened prior to the COVID lockdown, there just couldn't be a better call in the market than to get people out at that time. So you got to build trust in the system and then implement it, and you got to be very disciplined about whatever systems and processes you use.
I suppose that really is something that you could expand right across the way in which you run the company and even run your life, is the trust in what you're doing, and then we'll say make sure that you follow through in there. Again, lots and lots of points being made here, but since I did read out the earlier question to you about what did you do before VectorVest and how is Dr. DeLito, please do elaborate on that too.
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you for asking about him. He's doing well. He, as many of you know, he retired in December at the end of the year last year, and that's where my promotion came from, actually. But Dr. DeLito is a very determined man, and I gotta say that at 89 years old, it's been fascinating for me to watch him live out his life, and especially the last few years. He does have some medical issues going on, as you can imagine any 89-year-old would, but through them all, he still sets his goals every day. He still exercises every day. He still does all of the things that have made him as successful as he is, and that's been such a joy to watch. So I see him twice a week, and or talk to him twice a week, and he still sits on the board of directors here at VectorVest, and everything he said to me so far in the last 7 months is very positive. He's very proud of the performance that we've delivered, and he's still extremely proud of the company and the people that work in it. So he's doing well.
Well, Linda, as we bring this part of the interview to a close, because I'm going to stay on with people later on here, because I can see that there's lots and lots of questions coming in that I'm going to pick up on. I'd actually just maybe like to hear, what do you think is going to be the future of the company? Because of course you are in the driving seat now. with Dr. Toledo's blessing for sure. And I'm sure subscribers and people who are joining us here today would like to know what's going to be different. What's going to be your legacy in the years ahead?
Again, a very interesting question. My legacy is, number one, to take all of the good things and the I had an education that is priceless. Working under Dr. years has been the best education I've ever asked for. And so I feel a great responsibility to pass on the things he taught me. And so my goal is to maintain his legacy and then to grow it and to help as many people as we can as we go forward, both customers. So we want to continue to provide the best stock market guidance anywhere at any cost to the entire world. I would like to see young people get into the market much earlier than we did and begin setting the course for a financially free life. I think the world will be a better place if we do that. And as far as what do I hope to do? I hope growing the company and actually see the RT of our company go from lower left-hand corner to the upper right-hand corner in 5 years. I want it to be a solid 2 by the time 5 years into my role. So I want to grow the company. I want to continue to produce products that people are going to use to create financially free lives. And I want to continue to develop my staff and teach them all the wonderful lessons that I've been taught in my lifetime, and to help them grow and help their families grow and eventually become financially free themselves. So,
well, I think that's a really inspiring way to bring our conversation to a close. And I have to say, there are so many people here that are asking all sorts of questions about what way you invest, and when you say you've made a ton of money, people kind of want more detail on that, etc. But we're going to leave that for another day. Before you leave us, Linda, I'd just like to take you through a summary of what we discussed. So you said that the 3 greatest achievements of the company has been surviving and thriving in really difficult and changing economic times, enabling people to learn and invest. And as you said, that has been thousands and probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people over the 32 years, as well as building a team of people who you said could rival any Fortune 500 company. You've said that you're gender blind and that it took you 18 years to figure out that there was a sense that you were maybe surrounded in a man's world in the company, and that wasn't until somebody pointed out that you were the only woman among a 12-person team. But that you said that that's something you want to do, and you're far more focused on skills than anything else. And I mean, probably to give you full credit, because we don't really have all the time we could to go into this, is that I know you look for integrity as well as skill. You would never take one without the other. You told us an interesting story about being raised in a family where your dad didn't make the good decisions around, well, how do I put a retirement plan in place for when my body can no longer work, and how that was formative of your own views. And then something I never knew about you is that your first interaction with the stock market was in the 9th grade, arising from Barbie dolls and drinking Pepsi, and that you were picking stocks back then. And then you went on to tell us about how you got the job in VectorVest through leaving your previous one, but through a newspaper ad, how it only looked for an aptitude for maths. And I doubt Dr. Toledo knew that 30 years later you'd be sitting here in front of me talking about driving the RT of the company diagonally. You were just saying that you wanted to take the job so that you could go back to college, and it's something that you ended up not doing because the education was priceless that happened thereafter. Then you said from then you were listening to a range of phone calls of people talking about how great things were around what people were using the system for, and you listened to that for 10 years before having the money to go and do it yourself. And you shared some insights about conversations with your husband at the time. Then you went on. I'm going to write my own views next week, by the way, to everybody around what Linda did with teeny boppers. So I'm certainly going to talk to you about that. And then from there, you also said about how your accountant asked you how you were making so much money when putting together your tax returns. Then you spoke about your mantra of doing the next right thing, of just achieving the next right thing. A goal can be overwhelming, but as you said, when you take the next right thing, God blesses that and shines a light on what you need to do next. From there, you shared some insights around what's going to happen next in the company, how Dr. DeLido is. You spoke about the January 28th call, and also then to say that the next part of the company is going to be about empowering more people to have financially free lives. And as I say, we had that inside joke that I'll explain to everybody about what that meant when you're gone. But Linda, thank you so much for joining us. I know this was a huge opportunity for me personally to be able to interview you today. So I'm really appreciative of that. Thanks so much for joining us, and every kind wish for the next 5 years and beyond.
Thank you for having me. It's been delightful.
And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move on here to our full camera, and I'm just now going to have a look over here at what has been going on in the chat. So Salim asks, how much does PL Pro, that's Profit Locker Pro, cost per month? I'm going to ask one of the team to jump in here and to take care of that query offline, Salim, because there is a range of things we could talk about on that note. So I'm just going to ask the team to pop in here. Then I can see here that some of you are saying that when Susan speaks relative to Linda, yep, certainly the team are working on all of that. Maria said that was amazing, Linda, because I had a really hard time with gender disparity. I'm no longer in the job market. Great to have met you. So that's a really lovely compliment to pass on there. Cara then says, thanks David, with so much noise in the market, I'm curious as to a good spot to not get bounced out of the market too frequently, going to invest in Profit Locker Pro. And of course that is really what the show is all about too, is that it's not just focusing on how individuals invest, but how as a community we can help each other. David says, Miss Royer, will you be writing the weekly overview? I trust what you're talking about, David, there is the views, and that is, I'm going to leave that again with the team to come back to you on. Every managing director in each database around the world has the responsibility of doing that. So in my own case, I write the European views, and as I mentioned, I'm going to take what Linda spoke about around the teeny bopper stocks, running it a week previous, and then figuring what has appeared twice. So I'm going to talk about that in my own views, and I'll do a quick video for you as well on that. David says, Cara, my favourite is Prudent Enhanced, which is 50% gain and 10% loss. Always go to cash and a confirm down regardless of your profit loss. Of your profit and loss. Sorry, I see there now what you're going to do. Okay, so in Europe last week we had a confirmed down call. So of course, naturally enough, yesterday I was looking at the markets yesterday, and over the past couple of days I've watched them every day, but it's just been really interesting to see how the volatility has changed all the time. Lisa said to Linda, even with all the VectorVest indicators, do you ever trust your intuition? And if so, how successful were you? Lisa, I can't answer that for you because Linda is gone now, but I would say that she is a woman that truly believes in the system and puts her faith in the system for sure. But if you listen to the way in which she answered the question about how she started to invest herself, I would say what she would do is intuitively she might look for a way to tailor a search that's in the system and try it out from there. I don't think she's the type of person to take a significant part of her portfolio and colour outside the lines. From what my experience of her, she is someone who's very good, very, very good at taking a risk. But it's a calculated, risk-adjusted one. So I would say that will be our answer, but I will ask her. I will ask her for sure. Then if I go back up earlier on in the question, Matthew says wisdom and experience grow with age, for sure, and she's certainly somebody that exemplifies that all the time. If I go back further, there's a range of people who've spoken about individual stocks, etc. Matthew, I did put that point to her when she said, or you said, you say a ton of money about how much annual return and how big a drawdown. I can't put that to her directly, but I caught that out of the corner of my eye there. Mark says he loves Dr. D. Don't we all? Don't we all, Mark? We're going to tune in with you there for sure. Maria says, working on a strategy and need to utilise VectorVest more. Thank you, Linda. Very inspirational. Have to say, Maria, I have known Linda for a good number of years now, and when I say a good number of years, I have met her in individual spaces along those years. I wouldn't be talking to her every day. Obviously, she's the CEO, and before that, she had a very senior role as well. So I have met her at individual stages throughout the year, and inspirational is definitely the word, and you can add all of the emphasis in the world to that. She's an incredibly inspiring woman from the point of view of the work ethic that she has, the belief that she has in people, and also the way in which she sees actually what people can do, and she puts the parameters around them to enable them to do that. And then she lets them make mistakes if they need to. She's there to catch them if they fall, but she doesn't baby anybody. And I've seen it time and time again. What she does is that she sees amazingness in other people and empowers them to make it happen, and often doesn't even take or seek the credit in order to do so. And so it's really amazing to watch her do that, as I say, even in my case from a distance, but it'll be intriguing to see how that'll affect the company in years to come. Salim says, come on people, only 4 likes, go hit the like button. Thanks, Salim. And yes, we would of course, we would love to do that. Then I'm just going to go back up further then. Yeah, lots of good comments there. So Lawrence asks, is VectorVest trade price to buy a stock on wholesale rates compared to TradeStation or TD Waterhouse platforms? So Lawrence, what VectorVest is a stock analysis and portfolio management system. So in essence, it is a product that enables you to examine individual stocks or searches or portfolios from the point of view of risk management, but also by being able to align the system according to what's important to you. So if you are, like I mentioned during the episode 2 weeks ago around setting financial goals, if you simply want dividends, if you simply want safety, if you simply want, as you all know now, my second favorite indicator, if you simply want stocks that have a long-term ability to withstand severe or lengthy price declines, aka the comfort index, then you can use the VectorVest system to find that. If you don't know what you want and you simply want to find a way that will make it very, very simple for you, there's various searches, there's model portfolios, etc. And if you want the A to Z of the system, if you want to be all day, every day, watching the market through a really granular, objective, numerate approach, the VectorVest system is there for you with so much education that goes with it as well. So it's really what you want, the VectorVest system can find it for you. And I'm just going to go down to the end of the comments here and just check. Okay, so Maria says she's awesome. Thank you, Susan. Yes, she is. Then Salim says, give Joey and Glenn a raise. Okay, I'll put in a good word for them there. And Anthony says, how do I put a 3 and 8 EMA on my charts? Good point, Anthony. I am not going to be able to take that on today, just based on the way we're going on time. But I really do appreciate you put that question in, and I'm going to make sure we have some time in the next while to make sure that we allow some time for the charts. So, ladies and indeed gentlemen, thank you so much indeed for joining this episode of Fantastic Female Fridays. It's been my pure pleasure to interview Linda Royer, CEO of VectorVest, and it's absolutely wonderful to have had the chance to do that. Thank you for joining me. Thank you to each of you for interacting with us over the last while. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your compliments. Thank you for your engagement, and we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time when we're going to talk about how to talk to your kids about money. So, from me, Susan Ace Cullerton, thank you all, have a lovely weekend, and see you again soon.